Do we have to defend Ben Johnson every day on this podcast?
You are Locked On Lions, your daily Detroit Lions podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
What's going on, everybody? Matt Dery with you. It is Locked On Lions on the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. On this a Tuesday, February 6th and a Wednesday, February 7th. Thanks for making us your first listen and checking us out wherever you get your podcasts, including Spotify, Apple, of course, on YouTube. Please subscribe and check us out on the Locked On Lions YouTube channel. We appreciate our everydayers that are out there. I've made a promise to many of you, a lot of the everydayers that are out there, that I would mention some of our everydayers on the show, and I'm going to do that. I've got a list right here. Some of our everydayers that are out there every day watching or listening to Locked On Lions. Bill Willingham, Max Jacobson, Eddie Size, the Stanleys, you know who you are, Brian Bilbao, Russ Parmalee, Tim in Kingsville, shout out to Tim, Sean Verlee, B. Nuss, thank you, B. Lions Hangover Guy, R. Gutter, M. Rain, we love M. She's awesome. Honolulu Blues, feel better, buddy. And Coach K. Ski, who called me out on Twitter yesterday at Dery Speaks. Some of our everydayers. Thank you to all of you for checking this out. Hitting us up on Twitter at Dery Speaks or at Locked On Lions, Matt Dery Facebook fan page, and on Threads at The Real Matt Dery as well. Locked On Lions today is brought to you by LinkedIn. LinkedIn Jobs helps you find the qualified candidates you want to talk to faster. Post your job for free at linkedin.com/LockedOnNFL. That's linkedin.com/LockedOnNFL. To post your job for free, terms and conditions apply. Coming up on the show today, another national reporter is carrying the water for the Commanders against Ben Johnson. This is the last time I'm talking about this, but I've got to play you this audio of Adam Schefter, who sounds ridiculous. We will get into that coming up momentarily. Also, Alex Anzalone put out a blog post, an article on the Players Tribune, and it's incredible. Man, you want to talk about a guy that is Detroit Lions through and through, Gaines Media poster boy, Alex Anzalone. I'm going to read you some of that coming up. Jim Nagy's going to join us tomorrow from the Reese's Senior Bowl, executive director. Who looked good? What about the cornerbacks in Mobile last weekend? What about the quarterbacks, D linemen? We're going to ask him about the Lions, everything with Jim Nagy tomorrow. And also on the program today, a mock draft that stole my heart. The guy that I want, I don't think he'll be there at 29. But my first choice is in this mock draft from our friends at the Draft Network. So all of that today coming up right here on a Locked On Lions. So a shout out to all of you. Hey, great back and forth we had on Twitter and for some of you on our YouTube channel on yesterday's show. I'm going to make you one promise. A lot of you did not like the new nickname I had for Brad Holmes yesterday, where I called him Brash Holmes. I'm going to end that today. Not going to do it. It's Brad Holmes. He's an excellent general manager. I'm not going any further with it. I didn't like what he did yesterday. I'm sticking with it. That's it. I'm not going to bother you with Brash Holmes. I'm not going to lose some of my listeners. I thought yesterday was a bad day for him, but we can agree to disagree. He's Brad with a D Holmes, and he's doing a heck of a job. All right, let me start with this. And I thought we were putting this to rest and to bed yesterday when I brought up the fact that theathletic.com put out a story basically with Diana Rossini and the Commanders writer for The Athletic, don't even remember his name, that the Commanders brass, owner Josh Harris, the general manager, they were upset that Ben Johnson texted them. Ben Johnson texted them as they were on the airplane flying to Detroit to meet both Johnson and Aaron Glenn in person. And The Athletic says that people around the league are upset. They think Ben Johnson is killing his reputation. Anonymous general managers from other teams. The Commanders are upset and butthurt because Ben Johnson was their first choice. It wasn't even close. All right. I thought he was going there. I was wrong. All right. I had a couple of very good sources telling me it's done. He's going. And then they ended up with Dan Quinn. All right. Backwards hat Dan. So anyway, Fast forward to yesterday, Adam Schefter, ESPN nerd insider, was on the Pat McAfee show, and he starts railing on Ben Johnson too, talking about, listen to this story that that Schefter tells McAfee and makes up that he thinks is actually legitimate. This is unbelievable. Take a listen to this audio from yesterday, the Pat McAfee show. You won't even believe this. I'm going to cue this up right now. Unbelievable.
Type situation.
Yeah, it does. An interesting situation was reported this weekend that about Ben Johnson, and I think it was the Commanders, whether he didn't interview well or he thought that, or he didn't trust that the Commanders front office and new ownership, they were basketball guys and not football guys. Is there you got anything on that for us, Shefty?
Yeah, I think Ben Johnson obviously is one of the top assistant coaches in the league. And the situation in the end didn't work out, I think, the way that a lot of people thought or hoped that it would. And again, Ben Johnson is entitled to do and stay wherever he wants. He's more comfortable in Detroit being the offensive coordinator right now. That he just is. Like, you speak to other people that interviewed him as well, not just Washington, which didn't get the chance, but he wasn't entirely comfortable, getting ready to make the transition to become a head coach. Where it becomes an issue, I think, is this. If you know that you're pulling out of that job and you're withdrawing your name from consideration, all good, no issues. There's a time to do it when the Washington ownership group is not in the air on the way to see you in Detroit. Now, people could say they're coming to see Aaron Glenn there too, and that is 100% accurate and true. They were on the way to see Aaron Glenn and Ben Johnson. But if you're Ben Johnson, let's just think about this logically, okay? If you know that you don't want that job and you've committed to talking to these people who've spent weeks doing diligence on you and investigating the possibility of hiring you, why would you not just sit down with them when your season's over? Listen to them for 2 hours. Say, well, Mr. Harris, Mr. Rails, very impressive. I want to wish you the best of luck. Good luck with everything. Thank you for coming to Detroit. Yeah. I'm very happy here. I'm going to stay, but I really appreciate
You're going to love Aaron Glenn. You're going to love Aaron Glenn. Yeah, all that type of stuff. Yeah.
Oh, by the way, and I'll also say this, the Commanders found out in midair at the same time that they were getting a text from an agent. So it wasn't like something that was done in advance or there was any warning. There were media reports. One person on the plane turned to another and said, is this true? He's not interviewing with us anymore?
This guy. Aren't we flying 2 meters?
What the hell?
Josh Harris. They don't do this in the NBA. And then he goes, oh, this is the basketball guys. And
so now back to the basketball people. What does that mean? Either you're good and effective at your job or you're not. Either you know what you're doing or you don't.
Shefty's plugged.
Okay?
Yeah. Shefty's plugged with the Commanders. We need to remember that. New ownership. Shefty's plugged with the Commanders. We need to remember that. This is good news for us because you are actually giving their side of this whole thing, which, as you lay it out, completely understandable.
Yeah, it is.
So I think they're probably appreciative.
What's the other side? What's the other side? Oh, that. By the way, he was just as uncomfortable taking Seattle as he was Washington. Okay.
Ben Johnson and MCDC had 14 venti.
All right, so there you go. Adam Schefter doing a little water carrying for the Washington Commanders and being he was being called out by Pat McAfee at the end of that session anyway. McAfee's like, oh, Shefty's plugged in with the Commanders, and Schefter wasn't even really arguing it. And then he's like, well, you're giving it Washington's side, which I liked McAfee doing that. Now, McAfee could have kept going. And he's like, what's the other side? The other side is Ben Johnson doesn't want to go to Washington. Ben Johnson doesn't want to be the head coach in that piece of garbage stadium. Ben Johnson doesn't want to be with a team that whose quarterback right now is Sam Howell. Sorry, he's not into it. He just decided he's not going to go to the NFC East where Dallas and Philly reside. He's going to stay in Detroit. This notion that Schefter has that Ben Johnson is supposed to sit in an interview for 2 hours, even though he doesn't want to be there because it's courtesy. And oh, by the way, if they had just been in the air to see Johnson and not Aaron Glenn, would that have been a little bit of a D move? Yes. But they were still interviewing pretty darn good defensive coordinator in, as I like to call him, future head coach Aaron Glenn. Ben Johnson knew that. I don't think he would have sent a text message while the Washington ownership group and GM were in the air if they weren't still going to talk to Aaron Glenn, who, by the way, is getting mocked by people like, oh, yeah, well, Ben Johnson just ruined this whole thing. They were still going to talk to a pretty darn good candidate in Aaron Glenn. Sorry. And some of you may think I'm crazy, but I'd rather have Aaron Glenn as my head coach than Dan Quinn. So I would be more excited as a Commanders fan with Aaron Glenn, who was voted by the NFL players as the most popular assistant coach, as a guy they all respect. Now, do I agree with everything Aaron Glenn does as a defensive coordinator? No, I don't. But my gosh, this is outrageous. Just, I hope it's over because I'm done talking about it. Ben Johnson's a damn good OC. He texted them and said, I'm not interested. He's supposed to sit in an interview for 2 hours when his heart's not in it? Oh, okay. Please. That's ridiculous. Ridiculous. That's a waste of time. Complete waste of time. Adam Schefter could say, well, some of these, Rooney Rule guys, it's a waste of time. Well, then you're proposing a waste of time for Ben Johnson. You didn't want the job. Sorry, get over it. They were still coming in to see a pretty good candidate in Aaron Glenn as well. That's my take on it. All right. Coming up next, Alex Anzalone goes out of his way to really, really write something from the heart. I want to read you some of that. We'll do that coming up next, right here on Locked On Lions. And Locked On Lions today brought to you by our friends at LinkedIn Jobs. When you're hiring for your small business, you want to find quality professionals that are right for the role. That's why you have to check out LinkedIn Jobs. LinkedIn Jobs has the tools to help find the right professionals for your team faster and for free. I run our marketing and business development for two companies, Financial Architects Inc. out of Farmington Hills and the Q5 Experience. We do business succession planning, work with business owners. We always are looking for people. Always. We're looking for advisors right now. If you're a financial advisor, you don't like where you are, hit me up on LinkedIn because we posted our job for free on LinkedIn Jobs. It's not just another job board. LinkedIn has a vast network of more than 1 billion professionals, which makes it the best place to hire. Gives you access to professionals you can't find anywhere else. LinkedIn goes all that while making the process easy and intuitive. 2.5 million small businesses use LinkedIn for hiring. Post your job for free at linkedin.com/LockedOnNFL. That's linkedin.com/LockedOnNFL to post your job for free. Terms and conditions do apply.
Today's episode of Locked On Lions is brought to you by our friends at FanDuel. Happy Super Bowl to all those who celebrate from our friends at FanDuel, America's #1 sportsbook. If you're like me, Super Bowl Sunday is all about scoring the best seat on the couch, grabbing your favorite football snacks, and of course, placing some super bets. Think either Patrick Mahomes or Brock Purdy are going to catch their own pass. You think either one of them might potentially break the 506 passing yard Super Bowl record. All of that and much more is available over at FanDuel. Not only can you bet on who's going to win the Super Bowl, but there's even more bets on players who are going to score a touchdown, how many points are going to be scored, and much more. This gives you the opportunity to end your season with a W or 2 or 3. New customers right now can join today, and you're going to get $200 in bonus bets if your first bet of $5 or more wins. Visit FanDuel.com/LockedOn to sign up. That's FanDuel.com/LockedOn. Make every moment more with FanDuel, an official sportsbook partner of the NFL.
I'm back on Locked On Lions right here on the Locked On Podcast Network. If you've never been to Buc-ee's, by the way, that's why I'm rocking my Buc-ee's t-shirt today. It is the best. Down south, they have one. They're actually building one in Ohio. Thank God. If you're ever going down to like Gatlinburg, Tennessee or Kentucky or wherever, Stop at Buc-ee's, man. The sandwiches, the bathrooms are immaculate. All right, Locked On Lions, Locked On Podcast Network. Shout out to our everydayers. Thanks for making us your first listen every day. Jim Nagy from the Senior Bowl tomorrow. Guy knows talent inside and out. A Michigan native. We love Jim. He's a friend of the show. He is going to join us tomorrow. Alex Anzalone wrote a piece in the Players Tribune today, theplayerstribune.com, and talked about parenting, talked about a lot of personal stuff and just the kind of year and really the kind of 3 years that he's had with the Lions. And it was from the heart. And I want to read you an excerpt of this, and I just think it's absolutely awesome. But Alex said today at theplayerstribune.com, quote, I look at our roster and I see so much to be excited about. Jared, Aiden, Amon-Ra, Panay, Jameer, David, Frank, Sam, dogs everywhere, up and down the roster. But it goes beyond talent. It's not like a catchy saying you put up on the walls of the facility. It's not something you can just put into words. It's something we feel in our bones. We want to make history next season. Anything less is failure. So to all the Lions fans out there, before I go, I have a final question for you. Are you going to watch it on Sunday? And he goes into talking about watching the Super Bowl and everything else. But he said, quote, Dan Campbell told us, no, watch it, man. Use every second of it as motivation. I'll sure as hell be watching. This year sucks. Next year it's us. Believe. And that is from Alex. End quote. Alex Anzalone. Listen, a couple of years ago, I made it a point of saying, and I said it numerous times on the podcast, and shout out to Brad Holmes. I was wrong. Accountability. I said that the Lions linebacking core was lame, that it was weak, needed help. Anzalone was on a 1-year deal. I don't think had a very good year in 2021. And I said they're definitely going to upgrade at linebacker. They're going to have to sign free agents. They're going to have to draft, whatever. The Lions ended up drafting Derek Barnes, of course, not till late. They had Jalen Reeves-Maben. They brought in Jack Campbell this year. And of course, Malcolm Rodriguez. So they have a nice group now. But they kept Alex Anzalone around. They made him a captain. And he got a 3-year deal. And he has played extremely well. Extremely well. He got a 1-year deal, another 1-year deal, and then a 3-year deal going into this season. And he's been great. He has been unbelievable in the locker room. He's a captain. His game has gotten better. He's well coached with Kelvin Shepard, the Lions linebackers coach. And to listen to some of the things that he had to say in this piece and talk about how the team is not just a group of guys and it's not just mantras on the wall. They're going for it next year. They are focused and committed. And those are the kind of guys and those are the kind of players that you want on your team. All right. Is Alex Anzalone a Pro Bowler? No. But you can't just have all young guys. You can't just have all rookies and second-year players. You have to have veterans. You have to have leadership. You have to have players that have been there. And when he was in New Orleans, he was on some pretty good teams, right? But he was always kind of a bit player. He was never the star. He was never the best defensive player on the Saints. It was Cam Jordan or Marshawn Lattimore or Chauncey Gardner-Johnson, guys like that. And he came to Detroit as a glue guy, as a veteran that could maybe be a stopgap. And all he's done in 3 years has gotten better and progressed every year. And he takes Dan Campbell's message to heart, and he loves being here. He wants to be a part of this franchise. And I see a little bit of what Holmes was doing yesterday with defending his turf, because he's got players like Anzalone that will help recruit other players to come here that have complete buy-in. And they've developed as players. They've gotten better. And they're playing together. So for him to just please find this thing and read the whole thing. I can't read you the whole thing, but the playerstribune.com, Alex Anzalone, it gave me chills, man. This is what it's about. This is what championship teams are made of, having players like this. Again, he's never made a Pro Bowl. All right. He's a really solid player. But at times, he's rotated out of the lineup. Jack Campbell might be in the game. Derek Barnes, an extra DB. Doesn't complain. All he does is perform. And I loved what he had to say. I love that Dan Campbell, he shared that Dan Campbell told him and the other players in exit interviews, watch that game, watch the Super Bowl, stomach it, because remember that you're not in it. And they're already getting to work on next year. I thought it was awesome. And I'm a big Alex Anzalone fan. This is from somebody that 2 years ago was like, let him walk. And now, no, he is great for the city, great for the organization, and they'll have him locked up for next year and the year after. And I think that is fantastic. I absolutely love it. All right, coming up next, a mock draft that I absolutely adore. Oh my gosh, this is the guy I want for the Lions. I don't know if I doubt he'll be there at 29, but in this mock, he is. We'll do that coming up next. All right, Matt Dery here to tell you about our friends at DoorDash. Super Bowl Sunday is coming up this weekend. You don't want to leave the house, right? You're watching the pregame. You're watching all this stuff. Do yourself a favor and get one of these bags. They send them right to you with your food. DoorDash, all right? Did the game go to a timeout? Time to order with DoorDash. Is it halftime? Get on that app and order with DoorDash, all right? Why root for your favorite team, or why root for the Chiefs if you're rooting against the Niners this weekend on an empty stomach? Order on DoorDash and save on football watch party favorites. You can get pizza. You can get wings. You can get burgers. You can get whatever you want from DoorDash. I always talk about it. I get National Coney Island DoorDash to me. I get that honey special with the fries well done. I love it. Chips, dips, nachos, everything you need for this weekend. Get it at DoorDash. It's all delivered without missing the game. Get 50% off up to a $10 value when you spend $15 or more on your first order when you download the DoorDash app and enter code LOCKED23. Subject to change, terms apply. Don't forget, use code LOCKED23 for 50% off up to a $10 value on your first order when you download the DoorDash app and spend $15 or more. DoorDash, subject to change, terms apply. And we got to tell you about our friends at eBay Motors. Passion, drive, and patience. What brings home the winning trophy is also what keeps your ride or die alive. I'm talking about your car. eBay Motors has everything you need to maintain your vehicle and level it up to peak performance. From superchargers, exhaust kits, roof racks, LED headlights, and more. Whether you're the speed guy, the power guy, or style, whatever it is, eBay Motors has got you covered. And girls too. With over 122 million parts for your number one ride or die, you'll always find exactly what you're looking for. And with eBay Guaranteed Fit, your part is guaranteed to fit your ride every time or your money back. Because with eBay Motors, you're burning rubber and not cash. With all the parts you need at the prices you want, it's easy to turn your car into the MVP and bring home that win. Keep your ride or die alive at ebaymotors.com. Eligible items only. Exclusions apply. eBay Guaranteed Fit only available to certain customers. All right, so I saw a mock draft today and I said, oh my God, I got to mention this because the player that I really want for the Lions, I don't believe will be there at 29. Now, there's a chance because he's coming off a major leg injury, but I saw this today and I had to mention it. Our friends at thedraftnetwork.com had a mock draft from 2 days ago written by Keith Sanchez. And just, he includes some trades in there, such as Washington moving up to number one via a trade with Chicago. So Caleb Williams can be the new quarterback of the Commanders and reunite with Cliff Kingsbury, who's the offensive coordinator. The Bears at number 2 take Marvin Harrison Jr. New England Patriots get Drake May. Arizona Malik Neighbors, a wideout from LSU. And the Chargers at 5, Rome Odunze from Washington. So I'm scrolling down. I'm looking. I see some more quarterbacks taken and all this. J.J. McCarthy, number 12 to Denver. All of these things. Terrion Arnold, cornerback from Bama, first corner off the board at 15 to the Colts. I'm scrolling some more. I see Quinyon Mitchell, the cornerback from Toledo, who we'll talk about tomorrow with Jim Nagy, going to the Rams at 19. He was at the Senior Bowl. Ennis Rakestraw Jr., the cornerback from Missouri, very athletic kid, to the Eagles at 22. And I'm like, wait a minute. Where's my guy? And then at 29 to Detroit. Again, it's just a mock draft, but I love this. Cooper DeJean from Iowa. And I'm like, no way. Have you watched Cooper D play for the Hawkeyes? Returning punts, playing on offense, playing corner. Love this guy. You want to talk about a perfect fit here. My God. I never thought he would drop to the 29. Heck, Kool-Aid McKinstry isn't even in this mock draft in the first round. They write in this mock draft, quote, "This will be no shocker at all. The Lions need to address the secondary. Cooper DeJean is a corner with length and athleticism that can find the football. This is exactly the type of player that fits well with the Lions culture." End quote. Again, that is from Keith Sanchez. Man, oh man. You want to talk about a mock draft that I will stand up on the table here and just applaud. Cooper D, man, is awesome. If you've watched Iowa, he was the only reason to watch the Hawkeyes the last couple of years. All right. College teammates of Sam Laporta from a couple of years ago. He's just so athletic, the long strides. He just knows how to play football. And he's a football player. And that's what the Lions want. I would think that in a mock draft, in a draft like this, come April here in Detroit, April 25th or whatever it is, that Thursday night, if Cooper DeJean from Iowa is there at 29, you have to take him. The Lions are desperate for cornerbacks. They need a star at that position. They need a guy that, look, Khalif Raymond did a nice job returning punts. I'd put this kid back there. He's explosive. He was a two-way player at times for Iowa. As they used him, like handing him the ball on reverses and stuff. I love it. I love it. So we're going to go through many mock drafts. We're going to have draft talk for the next 3 months, pretty much, right? February, March, and April. But you anytime I see Cooper D from Iowa going to the Lions at 29, I'm going to applaud it. That would be fantastic. Again, tore his ACL this year. I think it was an ACL, and so might not be ready for training camp and all of that. But man, that's a stud that I would love the Lions to get. Team desperate for cornerback help. All right, tomorrow, Jim Nagy, Executive Director, Senior Bowl, will join us right here on Locked On Lions. Thanks, everybody.